I welcome to anyone who may be listening, if anyone is listening out there. This is Audio Boy SE, and I am your host, no one. What's Audio Boy SE, if you may ask? Well, just consider it a nice little audio blog where I can vent out my everyday frustrations or share the special parts of my life to the listeners that may be listening out there. I'm going to cut to the chase with this one because there's a lot to talk about and I don't want to do another Bible-length episode again. So let's talk about the anime of my adult years. There's going to be a disclaimer with this episode because I've been noticing the last several episodes they have been animes I have not been talking about during my growing up years, and yes, it's going to be with these adult years also. But the reason why is because there's just too much content and I don't want to bog everything down. Because I've been asked a couple of questions from people I know, and they've been asking, why haven't you mentioned any of the Studio Ghibli films, or Yu-Gi-Oh, or any other particular animes such as, well, now I'm thinking even Zoids, because Zoids has an important part of the culture also. But the reason why is because I feel like some of those animes need their own audio boys to communicate about, because it's more about the culture and aspects of that culture. So that's the reason why. But let's get back to the point again. I sure love avoiding the point. Yay. After college, I've been spending a lot of my life looking for work because, well, my college lied to me. So I've been doing lots of odd jobs and a lot of ways just to survive. Luckily, there's been a lot of animes to help keeping me company during that time of a very rough years. Even my life has still been rough now. So the ones I can remember shortly after college and after doing certain jobs have been Full Metal Alchemist, Naruto, and Bleach. But let's talk about the first two. Full Metal Alchemist was an interesting story, and yes, I know a lot of people like Brotherhood more, and in certain aspects, yes, Brotherhood is better. I don't want to talk about that now or in this audio blog because I feel, again, it's better to talk about it in its own comparison audio blog. All I know that I can mention here, it was interesting because I noticed that Brotherhood and even Full Metal Alchemist itself has been another introductory anime to a lot of people. I even remember a couple of comrades that wish they had the brother relationship that Edward and Alphonse has, which is really sweet. I don't want to get too much detail into this because, like I said, I feel that this needs a more in-depth analysis. Now, with Naruto, I'm not a fan of Naruto. I'm sorry for the people that are out there. I believe the show had lots of potential and lots of fans that really enjoyed it, and I can see why. But I feel after the whole Sasuke and Naruto fight, it really went downhill a lot. So there's not much I can mention that I really enjoyed about it, except the first movie when it aired here in the US, because I got tickets reserved, and that was a very special moment, being fans, watching something together, and hearing English for the first time. And it was the right before Naruto learned Rasengan in the TV show. That and the whole backstory thing, because I feel that Naruto is a very understandable character. Now, Bleach is interesting because during this time, I had a friend that came from Mexico be a part of my life, and he was a very important person to me during that time. Let's call him Polo. Yeah, Polo is a good name to hide what he is. So he didn't know much English. And again, being from across the border, he didn't know much about anything over here. I felt like being a really good person and take him under the wing and show him everything. So during that time, Bleach was out in the only online in the US. This is a moment that torrenting became very popular. The only reason why is because you really couldn't get the show in any streaming service or anywhere. Like, it wasn't on TV for watch later, so fans had to torrent and fans had to, well, sub. Bleach was part of that. Now, Bleach is a really bad show. It had huge potential for it to be a great show, but it squandered it and reused the horrible plot. It was still the introductory anime for Polo. He was hooked. We stopped watching Bleach around the Bount saga. I still kept up with it a little bit because I felt that Aizen was a great allegory for Lucifer and a great use of that, which went nowhere. Yay. But he wanted more, a lot more. It was time to latch to the next generation, since he was a little bit younger than me. So once we went to Bleach, we looked around over and over and over again. We found a bunch of shows that didn't work. Examples being Ice Shield, which I kept up with, and I feel that sports animes are a very unique show, and I really enjoyed how that show went. It's something that people can make fun of because of the light speed energy attacks with the football. In the long run, all those technical details didn't matter. It was the spiritual hero's journey that really made that show work for me. And seeing this wimpy little kid and grow into an adult was something I found fond of. Now, I know Polo didn't like it because of the energy attacks and the silliness and the representation of what football is, which is sad because he was a fan of Prince of Tennis a little bit, but that show is just for the fangirls, I'm so sorry, so it was not something I enjoyed. But after a while, we did find something that we both enjoyed, and this is a Japanese animation or anime that really has a special place in my heart. That anime is Hajime Ippo. There's just something about a sports anime, if done right, it's very unique. During this time, I was still, and I'm still not a fan of boxing. But there's just something about that show that brings it life to me. I like the concept of the term, I want to know what it's like to be strong. I want to know how it feels to be strong. That's not what he means. Technically, yes, but I feel it's a little bit more. A little 2-second backstory. He was a very strong kid physically, but confidently he wasn't. Ippo, the main character. And he was saved by a very confident, strong boxer named Takumura. And he does that line, I want to know what it's like to be strong. I want to know what it's like to be strong. What it's like to feel strong. Essentially, he wants to know what it's like to be a confident, stable human being. And that's unique to me. Now, the only other examples I can see is maybe Steven Universe later on, because when they talk about strong, they don't mean strong, I feel. I feel it's the same thing. Confident. Garnet is a confident human being, or gem. And the other gems want to fuse with that, to know that, to feel that confidence. Now again, this confidence is represented in actual physical strength, but that's the drug that Pearl wanted during that time. Ippo goes through that. Also, what I loved about Ippo is most sports animes or most sports movies in general just do the sport and not explain the little ticks behind the sport or the downtime. Ippo's strongest moments was the downtime. And it was very special to me because during that time, Polo was my best friend. And I was able to watch a show that I enjoyed and he enjoyed together because we had to use the Netflix DVD rental. And we both felt at peace just watching some people punch the heck out of each other and watching this, what seemed to be a weak little kid, grow into this adult. And it was so subtle too. Like, there were episodes later on, more than towards the end of the series, and you noticed, because they noticed, that Ippo did change. That he did gain that confidence. He doesn't really need that world title. It's nice, and it's nice to get that world title, but he got what he wanted. And he saw other strong people that aren't physically strong. Like the person that bullied became the strength to be able to become a manga writer. And his mom. Yes, his mom. His mom is an example of a very strong, supportive woman that doesn't have the Ice Queen awesome powers. She was just diligent, but yet still kind. It's an interesting way to show a female character, because we don't get those nowadays. The only one I can think of that comes close is the mom from Seeker and Nim. But this is anime we're talking about. And I feel the world's missing out by not watching it. So if anyone has a chance, watch Hajinome Ippo. To me, it's one of the greatest animes out there, and also to me, it's one of my favorites. Right on par with Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z. Not sure about Ghost in the Shell, but personally, it feels more important because of that journey and what it takes through that journey. My only major complaint about it is I wish he would go outside of Japan and to face these other boxing matches head on. One day I may do an analysis of this series. A very in-depth analysis. Hope people will like it. Now during the journey, I was looking for other animes to wet my whistle. Now, I do enjoy Brotherhood, and again, I would wish I could talk more about Brotherhood, but I feel that deserves its own special episode, because there was a lot of things that came with Brotherhood. So let's not talk about that. I kept searching for many other animes to scratch, because lately at this time, I feel like things have degraded a little bit. And we'll get to why I feel about that the next episode. That's the whole point of this. I know there were a couple of nice, interesting ones out there, like Blue Exorcist. I know my little brother and I watched that, and that was special. And One Punch Man. Oh man, that feels awesome. But with One Punch Man, I feel that it was just more of an interesting satire instead of something really powerful, except for the moment when the whole sea key thing happened. I want to talk about that some other episode. What I would like to talk about is Gurren Lagann, because if you notice my imagery, I have the drill. I know people would talk about Kill la Kill is better, or if Gurren Lagann's better. To me, that doesn't matter. To me is what Gurren Lagann represents and how it follows the hero's journey, and the lines that Kamina would say. Believe in me, that the one that believes in you. For a person with very little self-esteem, that means a lot. And that hits home. And I bet the best lines throughout the whole series, besides the Keaton speech, was when, well, maybe not the lines, because sometimes visuals are the way an anime should be told. And it was when they were trapped in the multi-part dimension, and spoilers, Kamen has been dead, and he came back from the land of the dead to save his friends. Actually, That's one of the interesting parts about Kamina. He's just a normal, ordinary person, nothing really special. But it was the words he said and the symbol of freedom that he represented. That was the thing that made him special. And he realized he wasn't special. And it was Simone that was special. And he needed him. It was sweet. I know a lot of people didn't like the ending. You know who you are. But sometimes we need a bittersweet ending. And like I said, it follows the hero's journey beautifully, of all the little aspects of each tidbits that it was like they read Joseph Campbell's work. Again, I would like to go more in depth into this, but I feel that maybe, it does have its own episode. Speaking, the only few animes afterwards I think we can talk about is things like Madoka Magica, but a lot of people are already talking about it, that and Kill la Kill. So I want to get to something a little bit more obscure, a little bit rare. You know what we should talk about? Flowers of Evil. The main character in that anime is one of the most despicable, horrible pieces of trash of a human being I've ever seen. He is worse than Kira, Liush, and Shinji combined. In the beginning of the show, I thought it was going to be a horror story or a horror anthology because I was searching Hulu and I thought, okay, let's go for it. Then you saw the weird rotoscope style. And that's the thing that makes it really a shame, is a lot of the Japanese people didn't like it because it didn't feel like anime. I think it was a good way to add different context to it. And also, Flowers of Evil is a very slow show. And maybe that's another reason why I kept going, besides seeing the main character get his butt whooped because he was weak as heck. It was very slow in its pacing, and it basically had the whole furikuri feeling to it of Nata and growing up, but a different side of it, without the giant robots, without the mega battles, without the sex jokes. It was just him dealing with his sexuality, or dealing with the hormones of him growing up and what it's like to grow up. And that evil, 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 evil lady. It was a good way to show for people that, again, forget what it's like to be at that age. And all the hormones and motions are just all over the place. That, and it was a way to show a pretentious character, which, remember, I hate that term. But the use of that term and how it worked. Again, it was a evil character, both of them. But I think we're all like that sometimes. And it's a good reminder now and then. There's only 2 more animes I would like to talk about before I end this episode, because I'm making another Bible again. One is Silver Spoon. This one, it is a shame that from the people I mentioned, no one's really talking about this one. Maybe the only reason why is because I believe in organic food trade and we're Hispanic. Mexican, essentially. And a lot of my parents, especially my stepfather, came from a farm town. So he would experience these things. It's a very interesting concept of how disconnected we are with our food. And how we're not one with our food. And how it must feel like for a farmer to care, love, and nurture something just to slaughter and eat it. Poor, poor pork bowl. But back to what I was saying. We take a lot of that stuff for granted about how we get our food and how our food is grown and raised, and not realize the people behind it. I think that's something that we need to see more of, especially in a younger protagonist. Also to see the stresses of being a Japanese student with the cram schools is another thing I think that's well dwelt upon. Also, it asks the questions of what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to be? Or what to grow up to be? And to see this character that's very shy, very timid, try things, learn things, and notices what it's like to be in these farmers' lives and tries to be that person to help in these farmers' lives. It's really neat. It's no action, no blood, no guts, no super fighting, none of that. But it shows a nice aspect of real life that I feel that we do need in these shows. Now, the last one I want to talk about is something that's a very obscure anime, and it's not the best one. No, not by a long shot. But I think it needs to be remembered. And it's called Key the Metal Idol. I don't want to give a lot or if anything away, because I feel the viewer should go in a little bit blind. But I'll tell you the basic concept. It's about an android or a person pretending to be an android you do not know, and the person wants to be human, and the only way to be human is to get so many friends. So it becomes this journey of her trying to be human with social interactions, and it's weird. I mean, really weird. I like artsy stuff, but oh my gosh, it is weird because you start questioning certain things of like, yeah, is she human? Is she not human? Why is she the way she is? And then maybe the reason why it struck to me is I remember watching the trailer of this in a manga entertainment VHS. I believe it was Burn Up W. And it seemed like a weird idea. Then so many years later, I was having an argument with a couple of friends. I'm a very overbearing person sometimes. I mean, a lot. Some people that are very important to me are gone because maybe I pushed them away or pushed them too close, which made them want to go away. I do not know. And I'm the type of person with the philosophy, it's better to have quality of friends than quantity. But when you start getting to my age, sometimes that doesn't hold up because other people have their own lives and their own ways of doing things and ways of talking to other people. So I decided to watch this because I remembered it right then and there. She was trying to get to 10,000 friends. And I feel like maybe I need more friends. Not because of Facebook or anything like that, which I think it does touch upon that kind of culture which we are suffering today. It's just I really don't want to be alone. I can be alone, but it's scary being alone. And seeing her go through that journey a little bit also gave me a little bit of comfort. That, well, I never finished it. Well, I watched all but the last episode because it's impossible to find the actual DVDs, and to get the DVDs are like $300. So sadly, piracy, even though I don't recommend piracy, is the only way to watch it, and the people are blocking it, and yet they're not making DVDs. Screw them all. Back to the point. It's just, it really touched home and felt sort of like home. About someone that's just trying to feel better. And for people like me that needs good people around my life, it really helped. And it's something that, it's an older anime that I do feel that we do need to remember weird ones like that, even just for a moment. It shouldn't be forgotten. Looks like I talked again, not as long as before, but for a very long time. So let's conclude all of this anime talk in the next episode. This is No One, signing out.